Ever wondered if true love really existed? Way back when knights wore shining armor and castles dotted the land, do you think people in the 12th century felt the same intense devotion as we do today? Prepare to dive into some of the most unbelievable love stories from the Middle Ages. Tales that show loyalty could be a force stronger than any kingdom or any curse. Number 5. Sir Gawain and Lady Ragnelle. The story of Sir Gawain and Lady Ragnelle bursts forth from the pages of a 15th century poem, a vibrant narrative that captures the essence of chivalry and a deeply challenging kind of loyalty. This isn't just about a knight fighting for his lady, it's about a knight facing a monstrous dilemma, one that tests his very soul and the limits of his word. Tale begins with King Arthur, brave and just, finding himself in a dire predicament, one that could cost him his kingdom and his very life. A fearsome knight named Sir Gawain Summerjour ambushed Arthur during a hunting trip, trapping him in a bind so tight, so dangerous that the king saw no way out. Sir Gawain, full of malice and dark power, presented Arthur with a grim choice: return in exactly 1 year's time with the answer to a seemingly impossible riddle, or face certain death at his hands. The riddle, chillingly simple yet utterly perplexing, was this: what is it that women desire most? Arthur, with his life hanging by a thread, agreed to the terms, desperate to find an answer that would save him. He rode throughout his kingdom, consulting every lady, every wise woman, every maiden he could find, hoping to uncover the hidden truth. He spoke to queens in their grand halls, to peasant women in their humble cottages, to abbesses in their silent cloisters. Yet every answer he received, while perhaps true for some, lacked the universal ring of certainty that Sir Gawain demanded. Some said beauty, others wealth, still others power or fine clothes. Each answer felt incomplete, a piece of a puzzle without the full picture. Time, a cruel master, marched on, and the dread of his impending doom weighed heavily on Arthur's noble heart. As the year neared its end, the king was still without a definitive answer, despair creeping into the shining halls of Camelot. Then, on the very last day, as he rode towards his fateful meeting with Sir Gawain, a bizarre and unsettling sight appeared before him. Deep within the ancient forest, a creature unlike any he had ever seen sat by a clearing. It was a woman, but her appearance was so grotesque, so horrifying, that it truly defied description. Her face was misshapen, her features coarse, her teeth like tusks, her hair a tangled mess, and her body so disfigured that even the bravest knight would flinch. This was Lady Ragnelle, a figure drawn from the darkest corners of a fairy tale, yet undeniably real in Arthur's path. Despite her terrifying exterior, Lady Ragnelle possessed a sharp wit and an unnerving confidence. She called out to Arthur, her voice surprisingly clear, and revealed that she knew the answer to his riddle, the very secret that would save his life. Arthur, desperate, listened intently. Lady Ragnelle, however, was not one to give away such precious knowledge for free. She made a demand, one that required immense courage and sacrifice from a knight of Arthur's court. She would reveal the answer, but only if Arthur promised that his most noble knight, Sir Gawain, would marry her. Arthur was aghast. How could he possibly ask his beloved nephew, the epitome of chivalry and grace, to wed such a monstrous figure? His heart was torn between saving his own life and condemning Gawain to a life with Lady Ragnelle. But the clock was ticking and the threat of Sir Gawain loomed large. With a heavy sigh, Arthur gave his word, hoping against hope that Gawain would understand. Upon returning to Camelot, Arthur recounted his terrible bargain to the Round Table. The knights were silent, shocked by the unspeakable demand. Then Sir Gawain, ever loyal, ever true to his king and his chivalric vows, stepped forward. He understood the gravity of the situation, the absolute necessity of Arthur's survival for the good of the kingdom. Without hesitation, he declared his willingness to marry Lady Ragnelle. His loyalty to Arthur, to the very concept of the Round Table and its ideals, outweighed any personal desire or disgust. This was an act of profound self-sacrifice, a demonstration that his honor and his devotion to his king were paramount. He knew the world would mock him, that his fellow knights would pity him, but his resolve remained unshaken. So the wedding was arranged, a somber affair. Court, though they admired Gawain's sacrifice, found it hard to mask their discomfort and pity. Lady Ragnelle, however, was radiant in her own way, her grotesque appearance unable to dim the triumph in her eyes. As the ceremony proceeded, Gawain, true to his word, showed her respect and courtesy, never once flinching or betraying his inner feelings of revulsion. He treated her as he would any lady, upholding his vows with unwavering commitment. The wedding feast, though perhaps less boisterous than others in Camelot, was a testament to Gawain's honor. Later, as they retired to their chamber, a moment of profound transformation occurred. Lady Ragnelle, seeing Gawain's unwavering loyalty and his pure heart, offered him a choice, a magical one that would forever change her appearance and their lives. She revealed that she was under a wicked enchantment cast upon her by her stepmother, a sorceress. The curse dictated that she could only be half beautiful and half ugly, and it was Gawain who would decide which half and for how long. She could be beautiful by day and ugly by night, or ugly by day and beautiful by night. If she were beautiful by day, she would appear fair to the court and the world, but ugly and horrifying to Gawain in the privacy of their bedchamber. If she were beautiful by night, she would be a vision of loveliness to him, but a source of shame and scorn in the daylight hours. This was the ultimate test of Gawain's loyalty, not just to a promise, but to the very concept of love and respect beyond superficiality. A lesser man might have chosen the daytime, beauty monetizing, public perception, and his own comfort. But Gawain, true to his character, recognized the deeper implications. He pondered the choice, his mind racing. He thought of his vows, of the true meaning of companionship, and of the respect he had shown Lady Ragnelle from the moment he agreed to marry her. He understood that true beauty, true joy resided in the intimate moments shared between a husband and wife, in the privacy of their bond. He did not want her to be a source of shame for him, nor did he want to feel disgust when they were alone. He looked at her truly, looked beyond the curse, and knew what he must do. With a deep breath, Gawain made his decision, a choice that sealed his nobility. Told Lady Ragnelle that the choice was hers completely and utterly. He said that she should decide what would make her happiest, what would bring her the most comfort and joy, because ultimately it was her happiness that mattered. He placed her autonomy, her desire, above his own comfort, or the opinions of others. This selfless act, this ultimate deference to her will, broke the last remnants of the wicked enchantment by granting her sovereignty over herself. By truly loving her without condition, Gawain undid the curse. In that very instant, Lady Ragnelle transformed. The hideousness melted away, replaced by breathtaking beauty. She was no longer half ugly and half fair, but wholly magnificently beautiful inside and out. She revealed that this transformation was permanent, and it was a direct result of Gawain's unwavering loyalty, his profound respect, and his willingness to grant her sovereignty. Her curse was designed to be broken only when a knight truly understood and honored a woman's deepest desire, to have control over her own life, to be honored for her own choices. Gawain, in his absolute loyalty and his selfless act, had done exactly that. The next morning, the court of Camelot was astonished to see the radiant Lady Ragnelle beside Sir Gawain, a vision of loveliness. Her newfound beauty, combined with the earlier knowledge of Gawain's immense sacrifice, solidified their admiration for him. The tale of Gawain and Lady Ragnelle is more than just a magical transformation. It's a profound exploration of loyalty. It shows loyalty to a king, loyalty to a promise, and, most importantly, loyalty to the spirit of respect and honor that transcends mere appearance. Gawain's steadfast devotion, even when faced with the most challenging of partners, illuminates a powerful truth about love. It flourishes when rooted in deep respect and the unwavering commitment to another's well-being and autonomy. Number 4. Floris and Blanchefleur. The epic tale of Floris and Blanchefleur, popularized in various forms across medieval Europe from the 12th century onwards, is a captivating journey of unwavering loyalty that spans continents, cultures, and immense obstacles. This is a story that truly tests the limits of devotion, forcing two young lovers to endure separation, slavery, and the intricate web of deception. It begins in Spain under the hot sun, where a Saracen king and queen, powerful and wealthy, welcomed a noble Christian prisoner and his wife into their court. Soon, both queens gave birth on the very same day. The Saracen queen had a son, whom she named Floris, a name meaning flower. The Christian queen had a daughter whom she named Blanchefleur, or white flower. From the tenderest age, these two children grew up together, inseparable. They were nursed by the same wet nurse, played in the same royal gardens, and learned their letters from the same wise tutor. They were taught by a master who saw their sharp minds and their natural connection. As they grew, their bond deepened, evolving from childhood companionship into a profound and passionate love. They spent every waking moment together, their hearts intertwined. Floris, a prince in Blanchefleur, though of noble Christian lineage, was essentially a ward in the king's household. Their love was an open secret in the palace. Everyone saw their affection, the way their eyes met, the way they sought each other's company. Above all else, this deep connection, however, did not sit well with the king and queen. The royal parents had grand plans for their son, Floris. They envisioned him marrying a powerful princess, securing alliances, and inheriting a great kingdom. A love match with Blanchefleur, a Christian girl from a conquered people, was simply not in their plans. They feared that Floris, so utterly devoted to Blanchefleur, would never agree to marry anyone else, jeopardizing their dynastic ambitions. They decided that this forbidden love had to be stopped, and they conceived a cruel plan to separate the young lovers, believing that out of sight would mean out of mind. Their initial strategy involved sending Floris away. They dispatched him to a faraway school, ostensibly for a superior education, but truly to break the bond between him and Blanchefleur. Floris, though heartbroken, went, trusting that he would soon return to his beloved. But while he was gone, the king and queen put the second, more brutal part of their plan into motion. They sold Blanchefleur into slavery, not just to anyone, but to merchants who specialized in selling beautiful young women to distant lands, particularly to the famous Tower of Maidens in Babylon, a harem of sorts for the emir. King and queen received a hefty sum, believing they had finally rid themselves of the problem. Blanchefleur, torn from her home and everything she knew, was led away in chains, her heart shattered, but her loyalty to Floris undimmed. When Floris returned from school, eager to reunite with Blanchefleur, he found her gone. His parents, feigning sorrow, told him that she had died suddenly and tragically. They even showed him a freshly dug tomb, claiming it was hers, filled with tokens of their supposed grief. Floris, utterly devastated, fell into a deep despair. He was inconsolable, refusing food, refusing comfort, wishing only to join Blanchefleur in death. His parents, seeing the depth of his anguish, realized their lie was too cruel, too effective. They watched their son waste away, his vibrant spirit extinguished. Fearing they would lose him too, they finally confessed the truth. Blanchefleur was alive, and she had been sold to the merchants. The moment Floris learned the truth, his despair transformed into fierce determination. His loyalty to Blanchefleur was not broken by absence or by the news of her supposed death. It was strengthened by the knowledge of her suffering. He resolved to find her, no matter the cost, no matter the distance. He immediately set out on his quest, equipped with a large sum of gold from his parents, who now perhaps regretted their actions, or at least feared for their son's life. Floris began his long and perilous journey, traveling through unknown lands, driven solely by his love and his unwavering loyalty. His path was fraught with challenges. He faced robbers, treacherous landscapes, and the skepticism of strangers. He learned to hide his royal identity, traveling disguised as a merchant or a simple traveler, all the while asking about a beautiful young woman sold into slavery, particularly one who might have ended up in Babylon. He encountered many people who tried to deceive him, to take his money, or to discourage his seemingly impossible quest. Yet Floris never wavered. His internal compass, guided by his loyalty to Blanchefleur, kept him moving forward. He refused to believe that she was truly lost to him. Eventually, through persistent inquiry and perhaps a stroke of luck, Floris learned that Blanchefleur had indeed been sold to the Emir of Babylon, and she was now kept in the infamous Tower of Maidens. This tower was a marvel of architecture, and a fortress of security, housing 600 of the most beautiful women from across the known world. Each year, the Emir chose one new wife from this selection, and the other women remained in his keeping. Gaining access to this place was not just difficult, it was seemingly impossible. The tower was heavily guarded, and any unauthorized entry was met with swift and brutal punishment. But Floris, fueled by his loyalty, was not deterred. He arrived in Babylon and with cunning and generosity befriended the gatekeeper of the tower. He showered the gatekeeper with gifts and shared stories, slowly building a rapport. Floris learned the routines of the tower, the schedules of the guards, and the strict rules governing the maidens. He devised a plan, a daring and intricate scheme that relied on a bit of trickery and a lot of courage. He bribed the gatekeeper even further, and also the man in charge of the tower's entrance to gain access. He posed as a mason, or perhaps a visiting merchant with special permission, subtly maneuvering his way inside. His plan involved a large basket of flowers, which he knew the maidens received daily. He hid himself inside one of these baskets, relying on the gatekeeper's complicity to get past the initial checkpoints. Once inside, he located the chamber where Blanchefleur was kept. It was a moment of immense tension, of heart-stopping anticipation. Crept through the labyrinthine corridors, guided by his desperate hope, and the descriptions he had received. He found her asleep in her chambers, a vision of beauty even in her slumber. The sight of her, after such a long and arduous journey, after enduring such fear and uncertainty, filled him with overwhelming relief and joy. Their reunion was a scene of pure, unadulterated emotion. Blanchefleur, waking to find Floris by her side, initially thought it was a dream, a figment of her deepest longing. But when she realized he was truly there, having risked everything for her, their joy knew no bounds. Their loyalty to each other had brought them through the most impossible circumstances. They spent blissful days together, hidden within the tower, constantly aware of the immense danger they were in. Their secret meetings were fraught with peril, but their love, their unwavering devotion, gave them courage. However, their secret could not remain hidden forever. Eventually, they were discovered. A servant, suspicious of the prince's presence, alerted the Emir. The Emir, renowned for his severity, was furious at this profound breach of his security and his honor. Floris and Blanchefleur were captured, brought before him, and immediately condemned to death. The sentence was to be carried out swiftly, for such a transgression could not be tolerated. They were led to the execution site, prepared to face their fate together, their hands clasped, their loyalty to each other unbroken even in the face of death. But just as the executioner raised his sword, Floris, with an act of desperate courage and loyalty, begged for Blanchefleur to be killed. First, he could not bear to see her suffer, to watch her die. He wanted to spare her the pain of seeing him perish. Blanchefleur, in turn, pleaded for the same, unable to endure the thought of outliving him, expressing her wish to die first, to spare him that particular agony. This extraordinary display of selflessness, of mutual devotion, of their absolute willingness to sacrifice for the other, touched the heart of the Emir. He saw in them a love so pure, so loyal, that it transcended the boundaries of his own anger and his laws. The Emir, moved by their profound loyalty and selfless love, pardoned them. Not only did he spare their lives, but he also, in an act of unexpected generosity, recognized the strength of their bond. He allowed them to marry, honoring their unwavering loyalty with the sanction of his authority. They were wed in Babylon, a place that had held them captive, but now witnessed their joyous union. Floris and Blanchefleur eventually returned to Floris's kingdom, where his parents, humbled by their son's unwavering determination and the miraculous outcome, welcomed Blanchefleur as their daughter-in-law. Floris ascended to the throne, and Blanchefleur became his queen. Their reign was marked by justice and wisdom, a testament to the strength forged in their shared ordeal. Their story remains a powerful testament to the enduring power of loyalty, proving that true love can conquer all, even the most insurmountable obstacles of distance, slavery, and royal decree. Number 3. Aucassin and Nicolette. The enchanting and unique tale of Aucassin and Nicolette, hailing from 13th century France, stands apart for its blend of chivalric romance, courtly love, and a refreshing focus on the lover's own ingenuity and perseverance. This isn't just about a knight and a lady. It's about a young man whose loyalty to his love transcends even his duties to his family and kingdom, and a young woman whose courage and wit are the driving force behind their survival. The story opens in the ancient county of Touraine, where Count Gawain de Beaucaire is locked in a bitter, long-standing feud with his enemy, Count Bougert de Valence. Conflict is fierce, the casualties are mounting, and the very existence of Beaucaire is threatened. Amidst this turmoil, Count Gawain has a son, Aucassin, a young man of striking beauty and noble bearing, but with a singular obsession that worries his father deeply. Aucassin is madly, utterly in love with Nicolette, a captive pagan girl who was bought by a Viscount of Beaucaire and raised in their Christian household. She is described as having beauty that outshines any star, wit sharper than any blade, and grace beyond measure. Aucassin's loyalty to Nicolette is absolute, so much so that he refuses to take up arms against his father's enemies, to fight in the ongoing war, or even to embrace his princely duties. He declares that he will do nothing until he is allowed to marry Nicolette. He tells his father directly, without equivocation, that he would rather lose all worldly possessions, his birthright, even his life, than be separated from her. This stubborn loyalty throws the entire countship into disarray. Count Gawain, exasperated and desperate to secure his lineage and protect his lands, tries everything to make Aucassin forget Nicolette. He scolds him, he pleads with him, he even threatens him. He points out that Nicolette is a captive, not of noble birth, and a pagan besides, a wholly unsuitable match for a prince destined to rule. He tries to arrange marriages with high-born princesses, but Aucassin refuses them all his heart, fixed firmly on Nicolette. The Count even goes so far as to imprison Nicolette in a heavily guarded tower. Hoping that her absence will finally break Aucassin's devotion, he ensures she is kept in a very high room, away from any possible contact, believing this will secure her isolation, and thus Aucassin's eventual surrender. But Aucassin's loyalty proves stronger than any prison wall. He refuses to eat, to sleep, to even lift his head from his hands. He laments day and night for Nicolette, his despair echoing through the castle halls. When Count Gawain again pressures him to fight, Aucassin makes a shocking bargain. He will go to battle. He will fight the enemy, but only if he is first allowed to see Nicolette, to speak with her. He is willing to risk his life on the battlefield, but only with the promise of a fleeting moment with his beloved. The Count, seeing no other option, reluctantly agrees. Aucassin rushes into battle, but his thoughts are still with Nicolette. He fights bravely, not out of a sense of duty, but out of a desperate desire to win her back. Captures Count Bougert de Valence, turning the tide of the war in his father's favor. But instead of delivering his prisoner, Aucassin uses this advantage to further his cause. He goes directly to his father, declaring he will only release Bougert if he is allowed to see Nicolette and share a kiss with her. This audacity, this relentless focus on his love, even in the midst of war, shakes his singular loyalty. His father, seeing the military advantage, once again agrees, but then, fearing the continued distraction and the unsuitability of the match, he breaks his promise and imprisons Aucassin, too, in a strong dungeon far from his love. Now, with both Aucassin and Nicolette imprisoned, the situation seems hopeless. But Nicolette, despite her delicate appearance, possesses incredible courage and sharp intelligence. She devises a plan for escape. From her tower, she cleverly uses knotted sheets and ropes to lower herself to the ground, a daring feat in the dead of night. She navigates the dangerous streets of Beaucaire, where pagan captives would be harshly treated, and manages to reach the very dungeon where Aucassin is held. She speaks to him through a crack in the wall, their voices low, sharing words of comfort and reassurance, reaffirming their unbreakable bond. Nicolette knows she cannot stay in Beaucaire. The danger is too great. She slips away into the perilous forests, surviving on her wits and the kindness of strangers. She lives like a wild thing, enduring hardship but never losing hope. Her plan is to build a little house in the forest, a place where Aucassin, if he escapes, might find her. She crafts a shelter of leaves and branches, a testament to her determination and her faith in their eventual reunion. She leaves messages and tokens for him along the path, signs that only he would understand, a trail of breadcrumbs. Meanwhile, Aucassin, finally released from prison because the war intensified and his father needed him to fight, discovers Nicolette's escape and the messages she left. He sets off into the forest following her trail, his loyalty urging him forward. He encounters shepherds along the way, singing songs of Nicolette's beauty and his unwavering love. He finds her hidden bower, a symbol of her enduring hope and her loyal waiting. Their reunion in the forest is a tender moment, a testament to their resilience and the power of their bond. They share a night of brief happiness, but they know they cannot stay. Their journey together begins a perilous flight across land and sea. They face storms, pirates, and the constant threat of discovery. They encounter adventures, some humorous, some dangerous, all of which test their resourcefulness. They are captured by Saracen pirates and separated once again. Aucassin is sold to one group, Nicolette to another. This renewed separation would break many, but their loyalty to each other is the anchor that holds them firm. Nicolette's journey is particularly fascinating. Her pirate captor sailed to Carthage, her original homeland, where it is revealed that she is actually the daughter of the king of Carthage, a powerful monarch. She is not a simple captive, but a princess by birth. Her true identity is recognized and she is welcomed back into royal life. Despite her newfound status, the grandeur of a royal court, and the pressure to marry a prince, Nicolette's loyalty to Aucassin remains paramount. She refuses all suitors, her heart still belonging solely to him. She cleverly disguises herself as a minstrel, using her musical talents to return to France, specifically to Beaucaire, where she hopes to find Aucassin. She arrives at Beaucaire playing her vielle, a medieval stringed instrument, and singing the very song of Aucassin and Nicolette's love story, hinting at her own true identity. Her song captures the attention of Aucassin, who is now the Count of Beaucaire, having inherited the title from his deceased father. He is still mourning the loss of Nicolette, never having forgotten her. He hears the minstrel's tale, and something in the song and the way it is sung stirs his heart. He sends for the minstrel, and as she reveals herself, their reunion is ecstatic. Their loyalty, tested by years of separation, slavery, and royal pressure, has finally brought them back together. Aucassin, now a count, is free to marry his beloved. Their union is celebrated, a joyous culmination of their long and arduous journey. The tale of Aucassin and Nicolette is a testament to fierce personal loyalty, a love that defies social status, family expectations, and the vast distances of the medieval world. It highlights the power of individual determination and the unwavering devotion that triumphs over every obstacle, a love that never gave up, even when all hope seemed lost. Number 2. Tristan and Isolde. The saga of Tristan and Isolde, one of the most enduring and tragic tales of loyalty in medieval love, exploded across European literature in the 12th century, appearing in various forms from poets like Thomas of Britain and Berulle. This isn't a story of loyalty within a perfect marriage, but rather a consuming, fated loyalty between two people bound by a magical love potion. A loyalty that defies societal norms, moral codes, and even the sacred bonds of kingship. It is a tale drenched in passion, betrayal, and an unbreakable yet devastating devotion. The story begins in Cornwall, England, where the valiant Sir Tristan, nephew of King Mark, is a renowned knight, famed for his courage and skill. He has already proven his loyalty to his uncle by defeating the monstrous Morholt, an Irish knight who demanded tribute from Cornwall, though Tristan himself suffered a poisoned wound from Morholt's blade that no one could heal. To find a cure, Tristan secretly sails to Ireland, disguising himself as a minstrel, where he is welcomed by Queen Iseult, a powerful enchantress, and her daughter, Princess Iseult, also known for her healing abilities. The young Iseult cures Tristan's wound, but during his recovery she discovers his true identity. He is the killer of her uncle, Morholt. Her initial reaction is fury, and she nearly kills him in revenge. However, Tristan's charm and skill eventually win her over, and he returns to Cornwall, his life saved, but with a complex connection to the Irish court. Later, King Mark, under pressure from his jealous barons to marry and secure his lineage, expresses a desire to marry a woman with hair of gold that a swallow brought to him. Tristan, recognizing the description, realizes it must be Princess Iseult of Ireland, the very woman who had saved his life. Driven by loyalty to his king, Tristan undertakes the perilous journey back to Ireland to ask for Iseult's hand in marriage for his uncle, King Mark. This act of loyal service to his king, though deeply ironic, given what is to come, sets the stage for the tragedy. Despite her family's initial anger at Tristan's earlier actions, and her own lingering resentment, Iseult agrees to return to Cornwall to marry Mark, sealing a fragile peace between the two kingdoms. On the voyage back to Cornwall, a pivotal moment occurs. Iseult's mother, the Queen of Ireland, had prepared a powerful love potion intended to ensure that Iseult and King Mark would fall deeply in love and their marriage would be strong. This potion was entrusted to Brangien, Iseult's loyal lady-in-waiting, with strict instructions to give it only to Mark and Iseult on their wedding night. However, by a cruel twist of fate, Tristan and Iseult, mistaking the flask for a common drink, accidentally consume the potion together. The effects are immediate and overwhelming. They are instantly, irrevocably, and passionately bound to each other by an intoxicating magical love, a love that transcends reason and duty. This potion-induced bond creates an unbreakable loyalty between them, a fierce, fated devotion that will define their lives. From that moment on, their lives become a desperate dance between their fated loyalty to each other and their duty to King Mark. Iseult marries Mark, becoming Queen of Cornwall, and Tristan continues to serve as his uncle's most trusted knight. But the love potion's power is absolute. Tristan and Iseult are drawn to each other with an irresistible force. Their loyalty to each other, though born of magic, feels more real, more profound than any other bond. They risk everything for stolen moments together, constantly dodging the suspicions of Mark's jealous barons who envy Tristan's position and correctly suspect an affair. Their secret meetings are fraught with danger. They use various clever ruses and deceptions to maintain their affair, often aided by the clever and loyal Brangien, who risks her own life and honor to protect her mistress. One famous incident involves Brangien taking Iseult's place in the marriage bed on the wedding night, a desperate act to preserve Iseult's maidenhead and allow the love potion to take its full effect with Tristan. Another involves Iseult's clever trick in swearing an oath of innocence before a gathered court, an oath so cunningly worded that it is technically true, but morally false. King Mark, though loving Iseult and trusting Tristan, is often swayed by the accusations of his conniving courtiers. Time and again he suspects them, catches them in compromising situations, or is presented with evidence of their betrayal. Each time, Tristan and Iseult, through their combined wit and cunning, manage to talk their way out of trouble, often with Brangien's help. There are moments when Mark seems ready to execute them, to burn Isolde at the stake, but a fleeting piece of doubt, a cleverly placed alibi, or their desperate pleas for mercy combined with the love he truly feels for both, stays his hand. Eventually, their affair becomes too blatant, the evidence too overwhelming for Mark to ignore. He banishes Tristan from court, sending him into exile. This separation is agonizing for both lovers, a profound torment for their potion-bound loyalty. Tristan wanders heartbroken, constantly longing for Isolde. He even marries another woman, Isolde of the White Hands, out of a misguided attempt to ease his pain and perhaps to prove his fidelity to Mark. But this second marriage is never consummated. His heart and his loyalty remain utterly with Queen Isolde of Ireland. He often finds ways to sneak back into Cornwall to see her, even for a brief, dangerous moment. He sends her messages, songs, and tokens, reminding her of their unbreakable bond. Their love is a constant burning flame, defying distance, separation, and the passage of time. His physical wounds, often sustained in battles for Mark or on his own adventures, are nothing compared to the emotional wound of being separated from Isolde. In his final illness, Tristan suffers a grievous poisoned wound, one that only Queen Isolde, the woman who cured him once before, can heal. He sends for her, dispatching a loyal messenger, instructing him to sail with white sails if Isolde is coming, and black sails if she is not. The suspense of waiting for her arrival, the agony of his declining health, highlights the absolute dependence he has on her. The depth of his loyalty. He clings to life, his only hope being her presence, her healing touch. As the ship approaches, Tristan, too weak to see, asks Isolde of the White Hands about the color of the sails. His wife, consumed by jealousy, falsely tells him they are black. Overwhelmed by despair, believing his true love has abandoned him, Tristan dies of a broken heart, his longing for her consuming his very last breath. Moments later, Queen Isolde arrives, full of desperate love and loyalty, only to find him dead. Her grief is immediate and profound. She lies beside him, embraces his body, and in a final act of devotion dies by his side, her heart broken, her loyalty to him enduring beyond life itself. Their story is a powerful, albeit tragic, testament to an absolute unyielding loyalty, a bond forged by magic but sustained by the depth of their emotion. It explores the idea that loyalty can exist outside of conventional morality, driven by a force so strong it transcends societal condemnation, ultimately leading to their intertwined demise. Their shared grave, from which a vine and a rosebush grew intertwining. Their branches became a symbol of their unbreakable loyalty even in death. Number 1. Heloise and Abelard. The story of Heloise and Abelard, a truly historical and intellectual romance, is unfolded in 12th century. Their connection was one of minds, hearts, and souls, enduring unimaginable suffering and separation, yet remaining fiercely devoted to each other through a remarkable exchange of letters. This is not a tale of courtly knights and ladies in towers, but of two brilliant, unconventional individuals whose bond, born from intellectual passion, matured into an unparalleled spirituality. Peter Abelard was one of the most brilliant and controversial philosophers and theologians of his time. He was a master dialectician, a Naitic lecturer, whose lectures in Paris drew thousands of students from across Europe. His intellect was sharp, his debates legendary, and his fame spread far and wide. In his arrogance and intellectual prowess, he took on the task of tutoring Heloise, the niece of Fulbert, a canon at Notre Dame Cathedral. Heloise was renowned for her own extraordinary intelligence, a prodigy in an age where learned women were exceptionally rare. She was fluent in Latin, Greek, and Hebrew, possessing a mind as keen and as inquisitive as Abelard's own. Their relationship began as that of master and student, but the intensity of their intellectual connection soon blossomed into a passionate and forbidden love affair. Abelard, proud of his reputation, initially saw it as another conquest, but he quickly fell deeply in love with Heloise. Their shared love for learning, their intellectual companionship, and their profound emotional bond became the foundation of their loyalty. They spent hours together, not just studying but discussing, debating and exploring ideas, their minds mirroring each other's. Their love was a meeting of equals, a rare and powerful force. Heloise became pregnant, and to avoid scandal for Abelard, who was a cleric and whose career would be ruined by such a revelation, they secretly married. This act of marriage was a profound demonstration of loyalty on Abelard's part, sacrificing his clerical ambitions to legitimize their child and protect Heloise's honor. However, they kept the marriage a secret from Canon Fulber, fearing his wrath. Heloise herself was reluctant to formalize their union, fearing it would hinder Abelard's intellectual and spiritual pursuits which she revered. She argued against the marriage, displaying an early form of loyalty to his greater calling, but Abelard insisted, perhaps out of a sense of duty or protectiveness. When Fulbert discovered their secret marriage and the birth of their son, Astrolabe, his rage was immense and unforgiving. He felt betrayed and dishonored. In a horrific act of revenge, he orchestrated an attack on Abelard. While Abelard slept, Fulbert's servants brutally castrated him. This terrible mutilation ended Abelard's career as a public intellectual and lecturer. It forced him into monastic life, stripping him of his masculine identity and his ability to engage in the worldly affairs he excelled at. In the wake of this devastating event, Abelard, in his shame and despair, compelled Heloise to take holy vows and become a nun, despite her deep reluctance. She entered the convent of Argenteuil, leaving behind their son and the possibility of a normal life, a testament to her loyalty to Abelard's wishes and her desperate attempt to salvage what little honor and spiritual peace remained for them both. Abelard himself entered the Abbey of Saint-Denis, beginning a new ascetic life. They were physically separated, their lives irrevocably altered, their passionate love seemingly extinguished by the cruel hand of fate and the unforgiving judgment of society. However, their loyalty did not die. It transformed years later. A series of letters began between them. These letters are the living proof of their enduring loyalty, a collection of some of the most powerful and honest expressions of love, sorrow, and devotion ever written. Abelard, now a respected abbot, wrote to Heloise, who had become the abbess of the Paraclete, the monastery he had founded and then gifted to her and her community of nuns. In his first letter, Abelard wrote a letter of spiritual counsel, recounting his own misfortunes and trials, using them as a lesson for others. Heloise's reply, known as Letter 2, is a raw, passionate, and utterly heartbreaking revelation of her continued love and loyalty. She expressed her unwavering devotion to him, confessing that even after years of monastic life, her heart still belonged to him. She confessed that her vows were taken out of loyalty to him, not out of true spiritual conviction initially. She questioned his apparent indifference, his silence, and begged him to write to her, to guide her, to remember their shared past. Her loyalty was not just an emotional bond, it was a chosen, conscious commitment, even in the face of spiritual duty. She states that she entered religious life solely for his sake, a testament to her deep love and loyalty. Abelard, in his subsequent letters, responded with intellectual and spiritual guidance, acknowledging her deep loyalty and suffering, but also urging her to turn her full devotion to God. He tried to steer her towards a more spiritual form of love, away from the carnal love that had caused him so much pain. Yet even in his attempts to guide her spiritually, his own loyalty to their intellectual bond, to their shared understanding, shone through. He treated her as an intellectual equal, trusting her to understand complex theological arguments, something incredibly rare for a woman in his time. He recognized her profound spiritual authority as an abbess. Heloise's letters continue to demonstrate her absolute, unwavering loyalty. She grappled with the tension between her earthly love for Abelard and her spiritual vows. She questioned, she challenged, she expressed her human pain, but she never wavered in her commitment to him, to their bond, and to the spiritual path he had, however, indirectly set her on. She dedicated herself to the administration of her convent, turning it into a thriving center of learning and spiritual life, effectively building a legacy rooted in Abelard's original vision for the Paraclete. Their correspondence continued over many years, a dialogue between two profoundly loyal souls. Abelard offered theological advice, drafted rules for her convent, and provided spiritual comfort. Heloise sought his wisdom, debated his ideas, and continued to pour out her heart, expressing a love that transcended physical separation and worldly status. Even in their monastic lives, their connection was unique. They remained bound by a loyalty of mind and spirit that few ever achieved. When Abelard died, Heloise requested his body be brought to the Paraclete so that he could be buried there. This was a final profound act of loyalty, ensuring that even in death they would be united in the place they had helped establish, a place of learning and spiritual devotion that was a living testament to their shared history. For centuries, their remains rested together at the Paraclete, and eventually they were reinterred together at Père Lachaise Cemetery in Paris, a lasting symbol of their unbreakable bond. The letters of Heloise and Abelard stand as a remarkable historical record, a window into a love so strong, so loyal, that it defied the most severe trials, the most profound separations, and the deepest society beats.